Hello, everyone. I hope you had a great holiday break and are looking forward to the new year. I wanted to make a short video to give you guys an idea of what I'm thinking about when it comes to next year, 2023. I want to talk to you guys about my assets in the marketplace, where we are as far as my coding course, and what other ideas I have that I like to add for 2023. But before I go into that, I want to give you all a very big thank you to the community for all your support this year, especially for those of you guys that own my assets and have been very patient. As I've done something new this year, I started making tutorials, which is what you're seeing on the screen. This is something that I've been wanting to do for literally years, and I finally decided that this was the right time to do it. And obviously, because I have limited time whenever I am working on tutorials, I'm not really working on updating my assets. So again, big thank you for your patience. I know that a lot of you have been patiently waiting for updates, and they are coming. So without further ado, let's first talk about my assets and what I have planned for the updates. So the first thing I want to talk about is the procedural city generator. I think this is probably the asset with the biggest amount of improvements as far as UE5 is concerned. You can see here I have a Trello board for all of my big assets, and the last update was the 1.1.2, which you can see here that has been done. Basically converted PCG to 5.0, added Nanite to the buildings, and made some changes to make sure that it was fully compatible with UE5. Now I'm looking at the 1.2 release, which is a pretty big update, and you can see that I have a very long list of things. These things in orange, these are the epic user stories. These are things that are kind of really big ticket items that I want to tackle for 1.2. And you can see here that one of the biggest things is the sidewalks, improved sidewalks. I have some really good ideas, and I like to make the sidewalks more flexible and more automated. I know that they make a big difference in your city. I am fully aware, so I am currently working on improving them. I've actually already converted my old code, which relied on a separate library and the procedural mesh component, to using geometry scripting, which is, as far as I can tell, faster and more stable. So I'm pretty happy with my progress so far, and you'll see that hopefully in the future devlog coming fairly soon. I've also wanted to support megacities, which means supporting world partition spawning, and I've been working on that the past few evenings. Already made pretty good progress. Basically, I want to make sure that instead of using city zones like I have in UE4, I just make sure that you can spawn your city that matches the world partition grid, which means that if you have a massive city, you don't have to spawn and load your entire city at once, which would limit you by memory, but you can spawn 3 or 4 cells in world partition, then you can unload those cells, freeing up your computer memory, and then keep spawning them over and over again. Theoretically, having a massive city, but only working on the loaded cells one at a time. So working on that, that's a big priority for me to make sure that we use world partition. Another big one here, these are all the oranges, is add support for modular buildings. A lot of the Quixel assets for buildings are obviously modular pieces. So right now, for performance reasons, I made the buildings one single mesh. That was back in the UE4 days where you were concerned about draw calls, but now with Nanite and Lumen, it's actually better to have them made up of modular pieces. Lumen works better actually when it's many smaller pieces, and with Nanite it doesn't really matter anymore that every building has hundreds of little pieces. So that is something that I'm looking for. Obviously, I also want to support chaos destruction. The UE4 version has some blueprints for Apex destruction. Those have been ripped out. So if you look at some videos from my tutorial list, you'll see that those blueprints are now gone because now we need to switch to chaos. So I'm going to look into making sure that we can use chaos for destroying our city in a more convenient way. And finally, add multiplayer support for all my blueprint code. This is a pretty big one. I know it's been asked several times, so I'm going to be looking into doing that. And obviously there's other things like improved water detection, continue to work on the road overpasses, uh, auto spawn sidewalks. So some of these are related to the big user stories. But overall, these are kind of like all of the big ticket items. I may not get to all of them for 1.2. If it's taking me too long, I may bump one of these to like 1.3. But I am hoping that I can get a lot of these done for 1.2. And obviously for 1.3, you can see that, again, none of this is promised, but I'm looking at better integration with the NPC manager system to create like a pedestrian system. I like to add a simple traffic system for vehicles. Hopefully by then we'll have updated versions of things like zone graph and mass for UE5, so we can use that in a much more efficient way. And maybe even additional road generation algorithms, which the one I have right now is very flexible, but there's definitely other things that I could do for specific types of cities. And things like runtime generation, I want to explore it and maybe have specific options that auto configure all the blueprints to make it easier for cities to spawn at runtime. Then we have the NPC manager system. I haven't worked on this too much, so you're not gonna have a lot more features here. But the idea is, the big thing is, again, I want to improve NPC manager so it can be used as a pedestrian system for PCG. Most of the code is there, but I want to make it more automated. And you even have all of that already in the current version, where you can spawn POIs inside the buildings, and then the NPCs will kind of roam around. I want to make sure that I add those things so the NPCs can go outside and kind of walk around and interact way more. So this is kind of the big thing that I like to do for 1.3. But before I do that, I have to obviously work on PCG to make sure that I am kind of keeping those two compatible. Then I like to add things like the NPCs to teleport to their destination if their distance is really big. Say that in the profile, the NPC has to travel, I don't know, 1,000 units or 2,000 units, and it'll take them like 10 to 15 minutes in real time. If the player's not around, maybe I can just teleport them. Just little things like that for efficiency. Adding the ability to spawn NPCs directly in the station, having the station be able to end the task completely, maybe even add melee combat. I know a lot of people have been asking about this, and it has not been my focus for NPCM, but again, if it's really a requested feature, I can probably add a simple melee system. And there's other things here, as you can see. And then for the animal behavior kit, I know it's been a long time running, and you can see that I only have this card. I was actually not using Trello when I was developing ABK way back then, so I just made one board. But the 1.4 update is going to be pretty big. The biggest thing is to complete the hybrid animal behavior. This is animals like crocodiles or hippos, that they can be both on land and in the water. And then I want to do a pretty big uplift on a lot of the systems, like the path following system, obstruction system, etc. Those systems have already been updated for NPC Manager. I like to port them to ABK because they're better. And then one thing that I like to add is the ability to have intros, loops, and outro animations for ABK. This is again the same system we have for the NPC Manager, which gives you way more flexibility. But I didn't think it was that necessary for animals, but this would be a very nice thing to have, because now you can have a lot more variety as far as animals eating or drinking or sleeping, instead of having to have one specific animation clip that covers everything. Then things like the ability for the animals to run away after taking X amount of damage, regardless of their settings. I like to use Niagara to replace the flying and swimming animals. I'm using static meshes now for performance. Niagara now has way more features than Cascade ever did, so I love to do those that way. That would literally allow for thousands and thousands of birds flying around, which is much nicer, right? And other things like a death manager, which is a suggestion from somebody on Discord. Maybe save a list of all of the dead animals during runtime, save into disk. That way when you load your game, then those animals are dead. So those things that so far have been something that you had to implement if you're a user or a dev, but I like to do something more, so make it a little bit easier for you guys. So those are obviously the big three. I do have plans to update the procedural foliage tool. I don't have a Trello board to share with you guys right now. I have some ideas of other things that I can add. Again, now that we have way more flexibility with Nanite foliage in 5.1. So, but that's kind of a lower priority. Those are the three big items that I have. And then we move on to the course. So I did something new, I'm sure you guys have noticed. I decided that I wanted to do a tutorial series that would take you from zero to hopefully getting yourself to be able to create your own functionality in Unreal. I've been wanting to do this even before I joined Epic 2 years ago, and it's been kind of in the back of my mind. And now that Unreal Engine 5 launched this year, it seemed like the best time to actually get this done. It has taken me way longer than I expected. I originally thought I would get all of it done in about a month and a half, 2 months. It's been 4 months and I still have 2 more videos to go. So I thank you for your patience. These videos are very highly edited, and it's very difficult for me to find time to record quiet time, and then it takes a long time. So I wanted to show you guys something just for fun. I've had this kind of spreadsheet where I detailed all of the different topics that I wanted to talk about, and you can see where I have like an introduction, basic programming, your first class, and I have some small details here, and of course I fleshed them out on the actual course. But this is to give you an idea of kind of what I had in mind when I was designing the curriculum. I tried to do things in a logical order, and I rearranged a bunch of these in a specific way to make sure that the examples that I use build on each other. So if you take the course from start to finish, you'll see that the examples get more and more complex, but they still use the same things that we learned before. So in the last video I did, which is thinking like a programmer, you can see here that I used a lot of the examples for the Dash. I used things like timelines, traces, things that of course were covered before. I use a component, etc. So things are hopefully making sense because I spend a lot of time trying to make things fit in a logical manner. And obviously you can see that I still have 2 more videos that I like to do. I'm currently working on the debugging your code lesson. That was supposed to be my last video. So if you recall on the trailer, I have 3 big items, right? I have the programmer's toolkit, which is basically learning all of the basics, right? Collisions, blueprint communication, traces, etc. Then I have, okay, now that you learned how to, what tools you have available, now I'm going to hopefully teach you how to start thinking like a programmer, how to use those tools appropriately. That was the last lesson, thinking like a programmer. I talk about the programmer's mindset. I break down an example that I found on the forums. And then the next thing would be, okay, great. Now I want to give you an overview of how to go about debugging your code. Because even though you're a beginner or you're a seasoned programmer, it doesn't really matter. You will always have bugs and things that are issues that you need to fix in your code. As you become more and more experienced, the complexity of your code will increase, but you're still going to have to apply these principles. But I wanted to add something else that I was like, hey, this is also a good idea, which is optimization. This is a pretty big topic. So of course I can't cover everything in one lesson, but I wanted to give an overview of some basic principles. Again, this is aimed at beginners. I figured, hey, after I tell you about debugging things, I want to tell you about just basic optimization. So, you're using the code, you're thinking like a programmer, you're debugging it, and then as you're designing your code, you're keeping certain optimization principles in mind. So that's kind of where we are. I am very happy with the feedback that I've gotten for the course. I read all of the comments. I try to respond as quickly as I can. I'm listening to your feedback, but overall I've been very, very happy with the feedback. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this, honestly. There's so many channels that are really, really big and they have really high quality tutorials. So I thought, why? Why am I doing this, right? When there's so many, literally hundreds of channels. But I just kind of wanted to do it anyway because it's something that I've had in the back of my mind. So I am very, very thankful that you guys are finding it useful. It does take a lot of time, but at the end of the day, I think it is worth it because I can see that it's definitely been very, very helpful. So you can see here that I've haven't really made a big push for the course yet. I've been kind of waiting to finish. So I made one Reddit post once, and that brought in a bunch of people. And I have made a tutorial on the community hub here page, and you can see that I basically just have all the videos. But it's just another way that you guys can come in and interact if you want to leave comments. I'll leave a link to this on the video description. If you enjoyed the course, if you'd like to show your support, please come in here, give it a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Try to kind of drive engagement. I love to get more people to join the community and to take advantage of the course because I think it's really good. And then I wanted to talk about kind of my idea of what is next as far as tutorials for the next year. What do you think? This was kind of an experiment for this year. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do any more. I'm still not sure if I want to do anything else after I'm done with these 2 lessons. Do you guys feel like more tutorials would be useful? And if so, what kind of tutorials would you like to see? Would you like me to tackle more advanced topics? Would you like me to maybe do videos where I build something and show you step by step, kind of like the mindset of how to design your code with pseudocode, how to build something from scratch, how to debug it? Like, would that be more useful if I show you a video over the entire process? Or should I go into other topics that I didn't cover? Like I had some topics here, possessing other pawns, or input events, or talking about using splines, which are very useful, or maybe the Unreal Engine's game framework, like game modes, game instance, etc. Widgets, which I didn't cover, managing data, like data tables, data blueprints, etc. So those are some ideas. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And one last thing I wanted to show you just more for fun. I have been struggling a little bit, honestly, on debugging your code lesson here. I wanted to do it and obviously cover as much as possible. But for this past week, I've been kind of thinking about what is the best way of showing that. So I eventually settled into just creating like a little project, mini game project where I add some features and then show that some of these features are buggy, and then I use the techniques that we go over in the lesson to debug it and show you kind of a practical example. So I kind of settled on maybe adding some movement abilities. I saw Forspoken recently came out. I've seen games like the new Sonic game Frontiers, which has a lot of, movement abilities. Maybe even Spider-Man, that's on sale right now. So I thought it would be kind of fun to add some movement functionality and then maybe even share the project and then go over all of that functionality within the video and basically debug it and use the techniques that we talked about. So just for fun, I want to show you kind of what I have, kind of a sneak peek. I don't know if I'll end up doing this at the end, but you can see that as I'm walking around, I can like activate these anchor points, and then as they're active, I can just press a button and just kind of zoom in and go around. This you've seen like in Forspoken and Sonic. I want this to be like a fast-paced thing. I wanted to add something where you can like jump and like bounce around, as you can see here. Pretty hectic. You've seen this in like the Sonic games. So I'm using the normal of the surface to kind of bounce around the character for a little bit. And I wanted to add something like the rails that you see in Sonic, which I'm basically using a spline. You can see here where you're just kind of going around. And obviously there's going to be bugs that I leave there so we can go over the code and debug it. So if you have any ideas about any other movement abilities that you like to see in this sample project, maybe I'll implement them. So let me know in the comments below. And also let me know, do you like this idea? There's no way that I can keep and provide the perfect example for all of the debugging techniques, but I figure this is probably more useful because it's going to be a lot more applicable. So yeah, that is pretty much it. That is my plan for 2023. Again, thank you guys so much for all your support. And let me know what you think about my plans, about the updates for my assets. If you have any suggestions for features for any of my assets, let me know. I'm going to be looking at the comments. As far as tutorials, do you like the direction I'm taking the channel? Would you like me to focus more on the assets? Would you like me to do more tutorials? And if so, what kind of tutorials do you feel like that they're generally missing that I can do a very good job at? And yeah, overall, I love to hear what you think. Again, thank you so much for all your support, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.